Welcome to Combat Zone with Ben the Bane Davis on Stadium.
Fight fans, welcome back to the Combat Zone. I'm your host, Ben the Bane Davis, and today's episode, we've got some very fun things to break into. We've also got the PFL's Corey Anderson and A.J. McKee joining the program later, as well as a breakdown of this weekend's UFC card, Derek Lewis and Taliesin Teixeira. Boy, what a weird matchup. We're going to talk all about it. But before we dive into all the nitty-gritty of the mixed martial arts and combat sports world updates, I want to tell you about my 4th of July. First off, hope you had a happy one. A great celebration of this country's independence. I made a poor move. I made an error. Right? My girlfriend and I, we joined this CrossFit gym recently. She's been doing it for 8 years. I'm just dipping the toes in. And a lot of the people from that gym were throwing a big extravaganza. So I figured, why not go? Now, if you have ever felt insecure about your body, what I would not suggest you do is go to a pool party with individuals sculpted like Greek gods. I've never seen so many abs. I mean, these guys had muscles on muscles. And if I was any more upset about my own bit of beer belly that we're working on, I would have probably lit a firework directly at my face. So that was my 4th. Hope you guys had a good one. All right, let's get into some of the big topics. I'd say the one that has dominated the news cycle over the last several days is Donald Trump saying we'll have a UFC event at the White House. This has captured the combat sphere. I've seen every major media outlet speaking about Trump saying this and almost like fantasy matchmaking a card that could be executed on the the White House's lawn. But I just have a couple questions and concerns. I think it's kind of a bad idea, and I've thought of some broad macro topics as to why. So here's why I just don't think that a UFC event at the White House would occur. First off, it's a massive security hazard, huge security risk to both the president, right, the staff, those in DC, the crowd control, managing 20 to 30,000 people, I think would be pretty tricky. I don't think they have the space, truthfully, on the White House lawn to accommodate an event like this. Managing every single fan in terms of what they bring in with them, I think would be tricky. And so you're just exposing the president, the staff, everybody in attendance to what would, in many people's eyes, be the perfect opportunity to strike in some dastardly manner against this nation's interests. Now, I think that there is also some technical and broadcast issues associated with this, right? I don't know if you've got the right gear set up, satellite connections, camera rigging. I mean, how would that all work, right, for a broadcast? And then you got to think about the power. There's a lot of energy that goes into these, and I'm sure they could bring in generators. I'm sure they can bring in trucks. But again, it's just another issue that they must solve, a problem that they're putting in front of themselves, which I don't think is necessary or realistic. That's not even talking about the permitting, the liability concerns, maybe even some public backlash from those in DC that are against this type of mess. If you think about the F1 event in Vegas, it's an unreal strain on those that live either on the Strip or near it. And I know after 2-3 years of them running that, that the natives in Vegas absolutely hate it. And I think that that's something we could see with the UFC event in the White House. Now, that's not even talking about the cost associated for the UFC to come here and the fighters to compete. I don't think that a private sports entertainment show would justify taxpayer usage, right? I don't know if I want my tax dollars going towards a UFC event on the White House lawn. That doesn't seem like a good use of anyone's resources, time. I am sorry, but I just think that there's more pressing things that we could allocate our focus towards than, cage fighting on the White House lawn. Does that seem like something that really needs to be pushed to the top and the forefront of, of what we're doing? I think that there is some element of the safety regulations, like I mentioned earlier. Is just so many people with medical teams, the setup, you got to have your ambulance zones backstage. I don't think that there'd be zones that just make this make sense. I think logistically you're running into way too many problems. And I think that what many people envision, because I've seen some stupid AI artwork going around of a cage right in front of the White House, and it's this idea of a grand UFC event. But I want to also remind people that Turkey Al Sheikh, with his New York City boxing in Times Square show, had tons of stupid graphic design in the lead up towards it that had a ring and then just thousands of people in Times Square around it, and it seemed like it was this great thing. And then what happened in actuality? It was like a construction site that had a invite only, couple hundred people attended nature to it, where you couldn't even really see Times Square or the greater New York surroundings because of the walls that they'd constructed for the event. It seems, it seems like that anticlimactic execution and the limitations they faced is something that Dana White and the crew would also face trying to put a UFC event at the White House. I just don't think that it would come quite close to what the vision is. Now, I'll give them this. The last time the UFC did something that was as zany as starting to get to as zany as an event at the White House was UFC Noche at the Sphere, which was tremendous, right? They knocked that out of the park. So there is a precedent set that Dana can pull off these types of spectacular shows. But again, it's just a big risk. And I want to reiterate the taxpayer money side of things because I'm just truthfully disinterested in that, right? I think that would be completely stupid. And when you've got countries like many in the Middle East that are paying upwards of $25 million in site fees just to have the UFC visit, it just causes a lot of concern and a bit of conflict, I would say, that we'd have DC paying something in that ballpark to host, again, a private sports entertainment show that I just don't think is necessary. Now, that's my thoughts, macro, broad, big term subject on why I don't think this should occur. But let's say it kind of does. Who would even compete? How do you make that card, right? I've seen Dustin Poirier open as a betting favorite to lead this in main event, the White House card, but he's retiring next weekend, so you could probably say goodbye to that. Could he be goaded out of retirement by this opportunity? Maybe, but we don't know that for sure. The only thing I know for certain is that Poirier is laying the gloves down at UFC 318. We only have one American champion, and that's Kayla Harrison. And no disrespect to Kayla Harrison, because I would say that she's a fantastic representative of American sporting prowess and two-time gold medalist, multi-time mixed martial arts world champion, and many big promotions. That would be someone I'd be interested in showcasing in a main event spot in such a card of that nature. But I know for sure that the mixed martial arts world wouldn't, and I doubt that those in the White House would want a card like that. I've seen this projected as well. Aspinall versus Jones. Let's finally run it at the White House. Even John Jones tweeting out, "I'm back in the testing pool. This is something interesting." John, pipe down, log off, zip it. It's not happening. That's a fantasy. And again, if we booked Tom Aspinall and John Jones for this mythical White House card that won't be occurring, I just feel like that's a continuation of from 2023, right? That's all of the nonsense that we've had with John sitting on the sidelines, John cherry picking, John trying to manipulate the negotiations in beneficial ways for himself, that complete over everybody else. Like, why would we play into that? Why would we keep playing in that sandbox? Come on. At some point, you have to say enough's enough and just move on and accept that it's not going to occur. The fact that I've seen so many people salivating at Tom Aspinall and John Jones on the White House lawn is just lunacy. And I want to point out the last time that Trump and crew did some sort of a public event of this nature, it was that big military parade that I would say in all ways, shapes, and form was a failure. Was stupid, was unnecessary. And this would be just like that. So for all of the people that are getting so excited about a UFC event in the White House, you can shut up. All right, let's talk about a different type of return. Tyson Fury. So this isn't mixed martial arts related. Apologies to those viewing that are just dedicated to MMA. But I think this is big news worth noting. So Tyson Fury tweeted out suggesting that a third fight with Alexander Usyk is on the horizon coming in, I believe, April of 2026. Now, he was in Istanbul with the IBA boxing president Umar Kremlev, and that seemed to kick this into gear. Something Kremlev said and did in the time that they spent together locked Tyson Fury in on this trilogy with Usyk. Now, I just want to point out a couple things. One, Umar Kremlev. Listen, if you look up maybe corrupt in the dictionary, it might be a picture of Umar Kremlev. Go look it up for yourself. Tons of things that he's done and reasons why I don't really trust that a Tyson Fury return against Usyk is something that would be possible. Now, additionally, you've got Riyadh Seasons Turkey Al Sheikh, who is the one who paid for the last bout against Usyk. And he's posted about being excited and seems that Fury is tied in and they're going to go hunting a rabbit. So if you've got Turkey Al Sheikh all pumped up about having a Tyson Fury fight, you've got Umar Kremlev, who is pumped up talking about a Tyson Fury fight. I don't know if they're going to be co-promoting. I'd say quite unlikely. And for Al Sheikh, I'd probably look in the mirror and go, I just gave this fat dude tens of millions of dollars, maybe in the hundreds range, right? And he's going to turn his back on me and go fight with Umar Kremlev on IBA boxing. That doesn't make any sense, right? So I think that there could be a bit of a promotional war here about who gets the rights to this return. But then I have to ask the question, is there interest in Fury versus Usyk 3? Is there a marketplace for a fight where Fury is 0-2 and really got his ass handed to him in that rematch? Why would we run this fight? It doesn't make sense for either guys, I would say. And I understand that there is so much money involved in Tyson Fury returning, but I do think a retirement makes sense, and I wouldn't be mad at it. Now, if I have to watch another Tyson Fury fight, then why aren't we doing Anthony Joshua? It's right there. A.J., of course, did lose to Dubois recently, but has stated interest in boxing again. They're both washed. They're over the hill. It's a fight people have wanted for years. I'm kind of struggling to see what is blocking us from doing Fury and Joshua. It seems clearer than ever that there's nothing preventing this matchup. No belts on the line, no real strings attached. Let's just have them fight, deliver this for the audience, and then both can retire. I think that that would work on all sides. All right, so if you hated the transition to boxing talk, you're going to hate this transition even more. Let's talk about Bo Nickel and an announcement I believe that came last week. So he's signed with Real American Freestyle, which is an organization headed by Hulk Hogan. And this is odd because, Bo Nickel just had his first loss in mixed martial arts to Reiner De Ritter. And it seems like the prospect, instead of turning back into the gym, sharpening all the tools, trying to close up the weaknesses, is diversifying his time and energy further and dipping his toes into some weird waters, which is RAF. So let me read you their mission statement. RAF aims to combine the intensity of freestyle wrestling with the entertainment value of pro wrestling, featuring both men's and women's divisions with various weight classes. RAF is designed to be a platform for top-tier athletes, offering them opportunities to compete in high-stakes matches and build their careers, which is great. I think that there's nothing bad about having another wrestling promotion, especially one that is headed by someone as attention drawing as Hulk Hogan, for better or worse. There will be eyes on the product. But for me, I just question whether or not this makes sense for Bo Nickel. How does this help him in his UFC bounce back? Right? How does this help him develop into the prospect that we've been told he is? I mean, gosh, there are a few fighters that have been shoved down our throats more than Bo Nickel. And now you're telling me after his first loss, he has thrown it all away and has gotten the WWE boots laced on and is now going to head to different waters? That is just a little bit silly. Now, I do agree that, this type of hybridized competing, right, focusing on MMA and then competing elsewhere, is totally fine. We've seen many fighters do BJJ tournaments, engage in other areas. So I get it, but man, I don't think this is the move that many Bo Nickel fans wanted to see following his loss to Reiner De Ritter. I think most would have preferred he gets back to the gym and becomes a better fighter. But I hope you get ready for Bo Nickel pipe bombs and his in-mic moments on Real American Freestyle. August 30th is when he'll be making his debut. All right, we've got some much more fun topics to talk about and some great guests. Corey Anderson, A.J. McKee joining the booth today. Some seriously good conversations with both. They're competing July 19th on PFL Africa. First up, we've got Corey Anderson. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an incredibly special guest joining us in the Combat Zone today. It is the Bellator light heavyweight champion, Corey Anderson, longtime Combat Sports staple, finally making the long-awaited PFL debut. Corey, how do you feel, sir?
I feel good. I feel great. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm ready to get to South Africa and get to business.
Before we get into this matchup with Dennis Goltsov, I got to ask, it's finally here, the PFL debut. How does that feel getting back in action?
I mean, it ain't here yet. It's finally on its way, but it
Mm,
feels good. Like I tell all my friends, teammates, and everything, a year off, that's the longest I've ever been without doing any kind of competition ever. Like from high school wrestling, football, baseball, basketball, jiu-jitsu is the longest I've ever been out. But it's kind of good and bad. Not bad so much, just frustrating. But the good, I think it outweighed it all. So I'm excited to
yeah.
get back in there.
Outside of consistently training and staying ready, what did you sort of do with the time over the last year? Was there any unique hobbies that Corey Anderson picked up?
I mean, nothing new. One thing about me, I've always had a hunting channel, a hunting outdoors
Mm,
channel since I was like in the UFC. So one thing, like even my wife said with sponsors and everything, was just focus. If we ain't got the energy to put in the fight camp, just go ahead and focus on that. Build that brand up and get that going, and work on your editing. Like I do all my video edits and filming. I do it all myself. So I just spent a lot of time like buying new gadgets and gear, gimbals, drones, playing, editing, filming, and I hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube in a time off, which is big. It jumped up like 4 or 5,000 in that time off. And other than that, just went back to the MMA gym. I didn't live in the gym like I usually do, but when I was in there, I was working on certain things I was doing bad. I went back
mm.
and studied all my fights, things I did wrong, things I was getting caught in and getting hit on, and worked on fixing those mistakes so it don't happen again when we get the call.
So, in some ways, you could say that this last year has been really transformative and reflective for your MMA style and how you operate inside the gym.
Yeah, it was transformative for a life period. Along, like the biggest thing I think I took away with it was the time I got to spend with my kids. I got a
Mm,
4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and being fighting and then fight camp all the time. We live in Indiana. We do our camps in Jersey. I go to Vegas. I go to New York. I go to Philly. I'm always on the go. So the kids always just catch a glimpse of that. See daddy in the morning, hang out for a little bit. Then I come back and we hang out a little bit before bed. And I think that was the biggest takeaway for me that I'm thankful of. It's kind of like a pandemic, like a curse with the pandemic. It made you slow down. And I had no
mm.
choice but to be at home with my kids. And like my daughter is always, my son's always daddy, daddy, daddy. My daughter's always been, she wanted mommy. And she gets hurt, she run to mommy. And something happens, she run to mommy. Well, over that time, being around, she actually started coming to daddy and seeing daddy around, asking daddy for stuff. So that was cool to see that transition. So like I said, all in all, I say it was frustrating, but at the same time, God has a plan for everything. I think that was just part of it.
Amen. Let's dig into this matchup. The 2024 PFL heavyweight champion, Dennis Goltsov. What do you make of him as a fighter? He's got so much PFL experience, obviously won last year. But how is the Corey Anderson breakdown of Goltsov?
I mean, he's a big Russian. I would say strong, but you don't know until you tie up with him. But he looks strong, big, long. He has a good jab. He keeps his jab out there. He tries to stay at range. He doesn't want to get in close. He's not big on the wrestling, but he can do the sambo, foot sweeps and whatnot. And if you get on top, he's trying to land as much damage as he can to wear you out, drag you down. Um, I mean, it's not like it's a big, crazy, hard puzzle when you
Hmm.
watch him, like, oh, he got so many tools. Yes, he's got multiple tools, but he does pretty similar style every fight. He doesn't really ever throw anything like, oh man, I never saw that coming. Who would have thought that was
Yeah.
gonna happen? It's kind of like, okay, he just throws the jab in a different way, or throws the leg kick, or catches a knee, and he smells blood sometimes. When he get on the ground, his implement to land the ground and pound. But it's never really anything like, oh man, that's a hard puzzle to figure out. It's just being
Yeah.
aware of what he's gonna do.
It's kind of the greatest hits that he runs through all the time in his fights.
Yeah, but the thing
um,
is, the one thing my brother always told me growing up is if you're so good at something, you don't need many things. You
yeah.
master one thing and you're good. And that's kind of what he is. He got the certain things he's good at, and he doesn't do much else, but he makes it work. So my job is to figure out how to work against that, how to make that work well for my plan, and then implement it into what I'm gonna do.
With your lengthy combat sports career, is there a past opponent that you would say he compares to most similarly to, or is there someone that you faced before that you think, okay, I've seen this type of approach and style in the past?
I mean, the movement and the way he throws his jab is similar to what Nemkov does, but Nemkov is
Hmm.
shorter. And then with the height and reach and everything would be Johnny Walker. But I think Johnny
Yeah.
Walker's reach is still a lot longer than him. They're about the same height, and I've trained with Johnny. I think I trained with Johnny a couple of times early in this camp. I was training with Johnny 2 camps ago and the last camp in Vegas, and I've got that reaching up to him. And so that's it. The biggest thing is just his his height, because my arms are actually longer than his if you look at the reach, but his height and having to punch up and making you susceptible for him punching down, which is what he's going to do, and throw that jab a lot. His movement, time his movement, like I said, that's the Nemkov, that Russian style. They stay to the outside, they throw that long jab and put all that weight on the front foot and take all that weight from the back foot. So you just got to be able to adapt to it.
Is this the opponent that you wanted for the PFL debut? Were there other names on the table for you?
I mean, my original name I was supposed to get was Joe Romero. That was last year. I was supposed to
Yeah.
fight on that Francis card. But so how that went, then Yo ended up leaving. So after that point, I really didn't care who I fought. You know what I mean? The contract is set, and like I told my manager, at this point, when you making this kind of money, I ain't ducking, I ain't dodging. I never ducked and never dodged, but it's like I'm not gonna pick whoever. I don't have any names. Just put a name. I gotta eat. Time to eat. Give me a name. I don't care who it is. Just put a name. They hit me up with this one. It was like Dennis Goldsoft. Like, all right, like, you know, it's heavyweight. Like, yeah, I know. Like, you sure? Like, I said, give me a name. Did I not? Let's go.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I love it. The gamesmanship, man. Man, some seriously fun stuff from the PFL and UFC veteran Corey Anderson. Still to come here on the Combat Zone, we got A.J. McKee. We've got some real excellent breakdowns of this weekend's fight night between Derek Lewis and Taliesin Teixeira. Make sure you're staying tuned. Don't go anywhere here on the Combat Zone. Folks, welcome back to the Combat Zone. Still to come, more from Corey Anderson and our great chat with A.J. McKee. But now I want to talk to you about this weekend's UFC event. So, fight night, Derek Lewis and Taliesin Teixeira. You might be scratching your head when you think about this matchmaking and when you see this poster, because it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. Derek Lewis is 2-4 in his last 6. Far away from being a title contender, and at 40 years old, I don't anticipate him having some late surge in the 265-pound division. Meanwhile, Taliesin Teixeira is 1-0 in the UFC. This is his sophomore appearance in the gold standard of mixed martial arts, and now he's thrust into a 5-round main event against a former title challenger, someone who's a long time ranked within the top 15. I just don't really grasp this booking. Right? Face value, I do not get it. Taliesin Teixeira is talented, sure, but this is a massive step up. And if you're trying to build a prospect and you want to fast track him, I understand that, right? Hey, we need new blood at heavyweight. Tom Aspinall has beaten 6 of the top 10. We need more people in there. I get that, but you might be shortchanging yourself. You might be shooting yourself in the foot by giving Teixeira a task too much for him to conquer. Now, I'll say this, Derek Lewis has displayed some deeply uncomfortable reactions to being hit, and Teixeira, massive physical advantages in this. So I think this could be like a Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa type performance where he just gets smashed, and that is checkmate. But it just, being this is booked for 5 rounds is where it gets me, because a poll in 2012 from betmma.com, so quite some time ago, apologies that they haven't done another one, found that heavyweight fights end 70% of the time before the end of the 3rd round. So within 15 minutes, almost 3/4 of UFC heavyweight bouts are done. So why the hell are we booking these for 5 rounds? Why are we burning those extra 10 minutes and just throwing it in the trash can when this could be served as a pretty okay co-main event? Still would have the same criticisms about massive step for Teixeira, and that could be blowing up in the UFC's face. But I'd be acceptable because it'd be booked for 15, and there'd be another fight that could be showcased in the main event spot. This is what I feel like we're forgetting with UFC main events. These are to showcase fighters that are surging, that are relevant inside the rankings, that have futures as title challengers and potential champions. Why the hell are we giving Derek Lewis another main event? There is no appetite for this. I would have much rather seen the fight on July 26th between Movsar Evloev and Aaron Pico plucked out and placed as the main event of this card. Now, I recognize that that'd be a couple weeks earlier. Maybe that would impact the training camps, but those are featherweights who are deeply entrenched inside the rankings on Movsar's side, and on Aaron Pico's side, highly touted debut. If Pico can get by Evloev in impressive fashion, that could be a world in which he immediately gets pole vaulted to take on Alexander Volkanovski. Like, seriously high stakes. Yet that's booked for 3 rounds, and this random, meaningless heavyweight matchup is slated for 5. Do you see my problem? Do you see why I'm kind of frustrated with this? You've got an excellent stylistic matchup just a couple weeks removed that is very relevant in the top 15 at 145 pounds. And for whatever reason, we don't care that that's booked for 3. I'm sorry, but I have a hard time digesting and getting past this lack of importance in UFC main events these days. I feel like so many random fights get booked for 5 rounds when they maybe shouldn't be. And then that absolutely will reduce the opportunity for other people to have a 25-minute affair, right? So I think that's a little bit aggravating. But I want to say this. The rest of this weekend's card isn't bad. You've got Stephen Thompson in the co-main event, and at 42, he is likely being used as a stepping stone for Gabriel Bonfim. It's going to probably be disappointing, saddening, depressing if Bonfim chokes Thompson out, which I anticipate to occur. So, yeah, co-main and main, not great. But then rest of the card, not much name value, but should be good fights on paper. Calvin Kattar and Steve Garcia, that's going to be a fun striking affair. Nate Landwehr and the Frenchman Morgan Charry, that's going to be a fun fight. Mitch Ramirez and Mike Davis, that'll be a banger. So I can see value in this card, man. I can see some great nuggets and good spots where this will be worth watching. You know, some of these fights I anticipate to be really, really fun, entertaining bouts. But man, it is kind of marred by a disgustingly annoying co-main where Thompson is getting fed to another prospect, and then a pointless main event. That does dull interest. All right, a couple random other things before we take it back to our guy, Corey Anderson. Rico Verhoeven wants Francis Ngannou. So if you are a big fan of Glory, then you know Rico like the back of your hand. This kid is truly special inside that promotion, and he wants a 3-bout trilogy with Ngannou over 3 different disciplines. So mixed martial arts, kickboxing, and boxing. Rico has done 3 fights in one night before, but not in all these different disciplines. So I don't know. I'd be interested. I know that Glory is potentially interested. If you can get some Middle Eastern involvement to finance and fund this, then you know, maybe we could see a world in which this occurs. I don't know what Ngannou's got going on right now. It doesn't seem like much from a competitive sense. And a guy like Rico Verhoeven, I would say, deserves big money fights. He has been a true champion inside Glory. And basically my stance on it, fuck it, why not, right? Outside of that, we've got a little bit of an interesting story I heard this week that I wanted to bring to you guys, and it was a bit of a random one before we take it back to Corey Anderson. Ian McCall, at one point in time, was a real fixture of the lighter weight classes, someone who's tangoed with Demetrius Johnson, Dom Cruz. Like Ian McCall fought the best of the best. And near the end of his career, he had an opportunity to be a commentator, a color commentator, much like Paul Felder, much like Daniel Cormier, much like Michael Bisping. And he absolutely squandered, in his own words, that opportunity. So here's what he told MMA Junkie. He said, I shouldn't have even left the UFC. I should have stayed there and tried to get some sort of desk job, which they offered me. But when I showed up to try out for a commentator gig, I was on a bender. I did coke in the bathroom, trying to talk more, and I was a mess. UFC gave me every chance. They gave me everything I could have truly wanted, and I squandered it, whether that's a title shot or multiple title shots or a job or whatever, which is crazy. That's wild. I've commentated a lot. Have done play-by-play for many promotions. I have never considered snorting a line before a show. If you're skiing before you hop in the booth, I promise you're going to crash. All right, still to come, we've got some fun words from A.J. McKee, but before we can get to the former Bellator featherweight champion, we have to take it back to our guy, overtime, Corey Anderson. In this last year, we've seen guys like Aaron Pico, Patricio Pitbull depart and go into the UFC. Was there any internal conversation about going back to the UFC, or was that always, hey, we're with the PFL, we're going to wait it out?
I mean, that's it right now. You just got to figure it out. You're in contract, so there's no point even trying to muddy the water. You start doing that talking, and they hear you talking, and all of a sudden they make you sit even longer, or is anything happen, they can try to sue you because you in breach of
Yeah.
contract, because you're in contract. It's like it's not even worth even thinking about that right now. Of course, when you see all these guys, Pico, Pitbull, Peggy makes all these guys going, everybody hits you, oh, you plan on going? I just lame answer. I don't know. I'm under
Yeah.
contract right now. We just focus on this. We finish these fights I got on this contract, with this contract in, then we can talk about that. And other than that, it's no point in talking right now because I'm, like I said, we've been out for a year. So why muddy the water anymore, make it any more messier to be out even longer? So I'm just focused
Yeah.
on the task at hand. That right now is finishing my job under the PFL banner. And once that come out, we talk with Don, raise that for Mike Cogan. If we stay there, we stay there. If not, we don't. So we'll figure out when we get to that bridge.
Yeah, the response to any of that is, hey, Corey's hunting. He's not having these
Yeah,
conversations. He's out doing
that's it.
other
That
things,
is it.
man. Now, I recognize that this is your first time going to South Africa. So, outside of this clash with Dennis Goltsov, what are you most looking forward to?
Nothing. Getting out
Yeah,
there and fighting.
get to
I don't.
fight, finish
I
business,
want
baby.
them there. It's like I said, I'm big into hunting, and I got a ton of hunting sponsors, friends in the hunting industry. And when everybody starts going to Cape Town, everybody like, "Oh, you taking your bow? You taking your rifle? Like what? Like, oh, you going hunting? Ain't you? Like, no. Like, bro,
Oh,
hunting out there in Africa is great. That's like some of the best hunting ever. Like, yeah, I'm worried about one thing, and that's hunting on July 19th. All the other
yeah.
stuff is for the birds. I actually had the guy I'm taking out there to train with me because we leaving Sunday. We're gonna go out there early to get acclimated. The guy that's going out there to train with me, he messaged me like pictures of animals out there we can hunt. I say the same thing, like, bro, everybody keep talking to me about hunting. I'm only hunting one thing. That's July 19th. That's Dennis Ghost. So other than that, I'm focused on that. It's hard to, if I went out there with my bow and stuff, I get carried away in the outdoors. Well, I stopped training. Like I would be out there just hunting every single day and don't even think about training. That's just because hunting is a passion. I
Mhm.
love being out there. So for me to keep that separate, I just gotta separate it completely. Bring only my training gear, leave my hunting stuff here, and then maybe in the future I'll come back and do it. But right now, we focus on one thing, and that's the task at hand. That's getting that W.
I was gonna say business on the 19th, and then hey, maybe later in 2025 or next year you can come back to Cape Town and get that hunt again.
Yeah. I go out there and meet a hunting guy like, yo, I like to come out here and shoot one of those. He's like, oh, come back on out. Like, all right, I'll hit you up in a few months. But right now, we're just looking. If anything, I'm gonna drive past and just say, oh, that's a nice looking animal, and keep on moving.
Now, I mentioned at the top of this interview that you're currently, right, the Bellator light heavyweight champion, but I feel like there is some sort of confusion or lack of clarity from the fan base. Is that still a title that's attached to your waist, or with this crossover, is that sort of a dormant championship? I'm sort of not sure what the lingo is at the moment with Bellator titles.
Just like everybody else. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
know. We saw what's his name? Usman. He fought. What's his name?
Paul Hughes, I believe, and defended.
Hughes. Yeah, you saw they gave him, and that was underneath the straight PFL title, and they gave him the Bellator belt. So that was kind of like what we assumed is going to happen. But other than that, nobody knows. We've been told you're still the champ, and we're supposed to defend against whoever earns it from the PFL tournament.
Mhm.
It's kind of like I said, that's that muddy waters that's just not quite clear yet. So
Yeah. Are you bringing the title? Are you bringing the belt to Cape Town?
nope. Like I said, once Bellator was there, I just left it up in my shadow box back in Indiana. I'm like, for what? If it's done and we got to fight for a new belt, I'm not bringing that with. And I'm fighting a heavyweight for this one, so there's no point of bringing a 205 belt. It says light heavyweight on it, so that's pointless. So it's just up hanging up in the Raptors right now.
Fair enough. I know you just had some South African lobster tail at Riv's Tom's River Hub. What other ways have you been acclimating yourself ahead of this South African trip outside of getting there on Sunday?
No, nothing much. I mean, I've heard it's like we had a kid actually here from Africa. He was at the gym for a couple months ago training, and I told him about fighting capes. Like, oh, it's so beautiful there. And I was like, oh, the air different, everything. The air is just more fresher, man. Really, it's just you can smell and taste the air is a lot more pure than here. But other than that, there wasn't much transition. You got the time change, and then you got the acclimation from the flight, 15-hour flight. But other than that, no. So I just been training. Um, I usually do my sessions one in the morning, one at night, and I feel like the fight is going to be around that. Here, it'll be about 1 o'clock time, if I'm assuming correctly. I haven't heard much.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to get in the gym around then for my midday, like a little light workout, so at least acclimated to doing something at that time of day. But other than that, I don't think it's much else to acclimate to other than the time and the travel. And that's why I'm getting out there early so my body can be completely ready with no excuses.
Fair. And given obviously the fight coming up, is there any July 4th plans that you and the family have today, or are you saving the celebration till after Cape Town?
No, so we got not today. Tomorrow we're doing some of my fight family and friends. We go to their house to do fireworks and whatnot. Today I actually talked to my son before I got on here. I'm gonna take him fishing. He loves
Mm.
fishing, so go out and take him fishing one last time. But when we get back from Cape Town, every year 4th of July back in Indiana, we got like the biggest property in the neighborhood, and we live out in the country. Like so, I buy like from $500 to $800 worth of like straight boom boom fireworks, and we do like a huge barbecue. We do volleyball, we do cornhole, water balloon fights. We cook, we eat, we have a blast. The kids play in the bounce house, and then when it get dark, we do fireworks. So it starts at like 2, and we usually don't finish till like midnight. So I postpone that. That will be the week. No, the week. 2 weeks after I get back from Cape Town, we're gonna go back and do that. So that'll be our festivities, and hopefully we're doing a victory party as well. So.
I love it. Yeah, the celebratory fireworks show, 100%. Last one from me, Corey. Big opportunity here, July 19th, to remind the masses just who you are. What can the fans expect from Corey Anderson at PFL Africa?
Just expect to see a bigger, stronger, and faster version of the Corey Anderson I'm used to seeing. You know, we had a year off just to work my explosion and strength. And then going back to the weight I actually started MMA, a lot of people don't realize I debuted at heavyweight, and I was a heavyweight until I went to the Ultimate Fighter. I wrestled from freshman year in high school to my senior year in college at heavyweight. So now getting back and putting size on and eating and actually being happy in training and waking up like feeling stronger instead of drained, it's
Mm.
definitely it's put a new fire and a new an outlook on this camp, and it's got me really fired up, ready to go out there and show them what I can really do when you ain't cutting weight. You don't your injuries. I haven't had many injuries, no bumps and bruises because I'm able to eat and fill up and fuel up the way I should have been doing this whole time fighting. So I'm ready to go out there and just show all that I've been putting into this camp and
I
get
love
this
it.
victory.
Bigger, stronger, more explosive, and healthy to top it all off. I can't wait for it. Corey, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck in this lead up to July 19th. And I can't wait to hear about those fireworks 2 weeks after.
All right, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Always a great time catching up with Overtime Corey Anderson. Thank you so much for the time. Still to come here on today's episode of the Combat Zone, A.J. McKee, and we've got a penny parlay for you to dig into this weekend. More action up next on Combat Zone. Folks, welcome back to the Combat Zone. Today we've got not one but two fantastic chats with PFL stars. Coming off the back of a split decision defeat to Paul Hughes, A.J. McKee looks to reassert himself inside the featherweight division at PFL Africa on July 19th. But he's got a tough task in Ahmed Magomedov. Here he is, A.J. McKee, to talk about his PFL Africa bout. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Combat Zone. We got a very special guest in here today. He is the former Bellator featherweight champion. It's A.J. the Mercenary McKee. A.J., fight camp is going well, I assume. How have you been?
Oh man, another day in paradise. I can't complain. Just taking it day by day, getting in shape, getting ready for this battle, and yeah, that's the name of the game.
Walk me through this opponent, Ahmed Magomedov, 11-1 overall. Is this the name that you wanted to bounce back?
Um, I don't think it really matters the name of who it is. It's just more of getting back in there, getting down to 145 pounds, and really just showing everybody again that I'm the baddest 145 pounder walking the planet. So.
What has that transition been like to get back to 145 versus 155? Has there been any challenges or complications with that?
No, not really. Just no more chicken parmesans and blueberry banana pancakes every day after practice.
Hey,
So,
after July 19th, you can have everything you want, you know?
oh man, I got a list of places I'm going to as soon as this weight cut's over. So, definitely, you know what I mean. Getting to 145 pounds it's a bit more discipline. It takes just a little bit more discipline. You know what I mean? I got to be on top of my diet. I can't eat whatever I want. It's just little things like that. So, yeah, overall, I would say it just makes me a more hungrier, meaner person getting to 145 pounds.
Yeah, take it all out on Ahmed. What does he present to you in the cage? When you break him down, where does Ahmed Magomedov fall short?
Well, he's a strong opponent. You know what I mean? Anyone coming out of that Khabib camp, they've got the wrestling. They're gonna leave it all in there. They're not gonna stop. And they're gonna grind. So, I think stylistically, I'm just a bad matchup for anyone.
Yeah. When you
And at
think about
145 pounds, it's I don't care who it is, honestly.
that's where the bread's buttered for A.J. McKee.
Yeah, 145 is, you know what I mean? Moving up to 155 pounds, I just wanted to show that my skill set is able to withhold me in that division as well. And I wanted to be a two division champion. So I fell a little short, you know what I mean? Mild setback for the major comeback. And here we are, you know what I mean? Coming back down 145 pounds. And I'm just looking to show everybody once again who the baddest 145 pounder is.
What is the significance of competing on the first PFL Africa card? How does that connect with you?
I think it's awesome. I've been able to touch continents that not only I've never been to, but the mixed martial arts industry hasn't been to either. So being a part of these one-off big shows, being the first to do things, it's awesome. I'm very happy and proud to be a part of it and be able to be the first to do things like that. Having a Middle Eastern background, I've been able to go to the Middle East, fight there, and having an African background, now I'm able to go there and see that culture as well. And I think that's just the awesome part about it. You know what I mean? I get to see different lifestyles, different cultures, and get to kind of soak it all in, but while getting paid to do what I love and also show everyone my skill set.
Bona fide globe trotter. I'm curious, the dream is still very much alive for two division champion. But I'm curious when you look at the PFL, is that going to be against the Pinedo Movlid Kabalayev winner? I mean, who would maybe you want next after this to get to that belt as quickly as possible?
Um, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. You got Pineda, you got the other Russian out of Khabib's camp as well.
Mhm.
I believe he won it last year. So there's some big names. Maybe those two fight. Maybe I fight one of them. Maybe I'm not quite sure what'll happen. Um, I'm the mercenary, man. They call me with a name, and I go do my job, take that person out.
I love it.
That's the name of my game.
Now, we've seen recently Aaron Pico cross over to the UFC waters, Patricio Pitbull making his debut against Yair Rodriguez. Is there ever a thought or anything about following different promotions, or is it PFL for the foreseeable future?
PFL's my home. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's where my contract is. That's what I've signed my business agreement to. This is my job. So I watch all the other fights. I like to scout other talents. I watch ONE FC. I watch UFC. I watch it all. You gotta. When you see yourself at the top of the food chain, you're gonna watch all aspects. But for me, I'm focused on PFL. You know what I mean? That's where my competition is, and that's where I'm at.
What did you make of Pitbull's UFC debut on that topic?
Um, he just he looked a bit dry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think styles make fights. Styles make fights, and Yair's got a very similar style to mine. So that fight went just how our second fight went. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's that's all I got to say on that
Not much, not much. No,
one.
totally fair. When you think about the mercenary fan base and the people out there that are really looking forward to your fight on July 19th, what is the standout thing that you're looking to display to that audience?
um, just the mercenary, man. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We go in there, we get the job done by any means. Even on our worst days, we're still in there fighting and we're leaving it all in there. So yeah, July 19th, it's not going to be an easy fight, but I'm looking forward to making it look easy.
I love it. A.J. McKee, thank you so much for the time, sir. Best of luck with the rest of camp, and I can't wait to see you fight on July 19th.
Appreciate it, man. Peace and blessings. Have a good one.
Many thanks to the former Bellator featherweight champion, A.J. McKee. Still some more action left on today's episode of Combat Zone. We've got the Penny Parlay and the fan favorite, Not Your Night, coming up next on the Combat Zone. Folks, welcome back to the Combat Zone. It's time that we direct some attention and focus to those of the Gambling Republic. UFC Fight Night, Derek Lewis and Teixeira has some interesting lines, and I've compiled a couple of them for you here.
The Penny Parlay.
So, in order to construct the best penny parlay, I'm looking to the main event first, and I'm siding with the veteran. I know that I was just on him a couple moments ago for being 2-4 in his last 6 and being 40 years old. But Derek Lewis by KO TKO at plus 130 is a must bet every Black Beast fight. He does lead the promotion in UFC knockouts, I believe 15 UFC KOs. So most in promotional history, and 23 KOs in his total professional record. So look, when he lands, it usually is game over. And again, this is Teixeira's second fight in the UFC. This is a massive step up. I'm noting that Lewis might have those durability issues and won't be able to absorb or take shots or want to stand and trade. So I'm not supremely confident, but plus 130, Lewis by KO, that kicks off the penny parlay. All right, co-main event, Gabriel Bonfim by submission. So Bonfim has 13 submission victories. Approximately 75% of his win rate is by sub. And I just don't think a 42-year-old Stephen Thompson, who has historically succumbed to grapplers, is going to be able to be victorious. So Bonfim by sub plus 200, add that in. Now, Calvin Kattar, 37 years old, was at one point in time a really top high-valued featherweight prospect, has fallen off in recent years, but I do think that he's still got it enough to beat Steve Garcia. I'm not picking by knockout. I'm going with Calvin by decision at plus 150. Pop that in. Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train, baby. Fan favorite fighter, all action, high octane, nothing but pressure, and swinging with reckless abandon. I think that he will be able to outmuscle and outgrit the Frenchman, Morgan Cherie, who I think is a better striker. And if Nate walks into the pocket and gets nuked by a big strike from Cherie, I won't be shocked. But I just think 15 minutes with this lunatic in front of you, I think Nate will win moments. So plus 180 on Landwehr by decision, pop him in. And on the prelims, the final part of our penny parlay, we see the action man, Chris Curtis, back in it against Max Payne Griffin. I think that Chris has fought stronger opponents, has beaten better people, and stylistically will be able to outpoint Max Griffin to a decision victory at plus 200. So you put all that together and you get a plus 1,449 parlay. And I think $10, that's going to knit you about $1,500. You put $25, that's a $3,600 payout. So high risk, high reward. A lot hinges on Derek Lewis closing it out with a KO. But I think that that is the best penny parlay in quite some time. Now, before we get out of here today, we've got some more fun. It's everyone's favorite compilation. Some fighters win, some lose. This is Not Your Night.
Not Your Night.
Folks, thanks for watching today's episode of Combat Zone. Massive appreciation towards Corey Anderson and A.J. McKee. They do battle in the PFL next week, July 19th. Make sure you tune in. Can't wait for all the action we have coming here on Combat Zone, 9 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. We will see you next week.